Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
And now it is time for the final fulfillment of Liberty Nation Radio, which is to promote individual liberty. Thus, the concluding segment of the program entitled Talkin Liberty. It's when we welcome back in our regular contributor, constitutional lawyer, LibertyNation.com legal affairs editor, and the man that we call our guardian of individual liberty, Scott David Cosenza. Hello, Scott.
Tim, with an intro like that, how can I go wrong? Thank you.
You are so welcome. Now, the impeachment of Donald Trump for a second time. Tell us your view on the whole issue of impeaching a president who's no longer president. The issue of whether impeachment is supposed to be for punishment or removal from office, and whether the whole procedure is constitutional.
I think 2.0 is the best way to refer to this impeachment, Tim. You know, I will get into those topics, but before I do, I want to address a broader topic that I see misrepresented widely now in the big box media. And I just want to address this notion of incitement, because in the memorandum that the House Democrat impeachment managers sent to the U.S. Senate, they said that Donald Trump was guilty of the crime of incitement. Now, what that means is incitement to violence or incitement to riot, which would mean that Trump's words directed those people to commit those acts, which is one of the few permissible impositions on the right to free speech, which is to say, for instance, we know that slander and libel, defamation can be made illegal, even though they're speech. That's not free speech. And also incitement. And also it can be a very serious crime. But the same document, Tim, that these House impeachment prosecutors have sent over says that this is not about the crime of incitement. Instead, it talks about how it's a political act. So it's basically a political crime, a new thing that has come into existence, the political crime of incitement. So I just want to be clear that Donald Trump is not being tried in a court where he has kind of due process rights like a typical criminal defendant would have. Including especially the presumption of innocence, for instance.
I mean, we went through all of that with the first impeachment, which was at least while he was still in office over a phone call to the Ukrainian president. But now it appears, Scott, like it's really nothing more than political retribution.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. Also, and let's always remind ourselves that they're likely fundraising mightily off of this thing. So we can't even estimate what kind of fire hose of money the never Trumpers are pouring in. They just want to just smash, kick him when he's down. Like that, the universe of those folks has got to be pretty great, Tim. So the juice politically combined with the money. And then here's the third part, Tim. Hey, you don't actually have to get into the hard work of trying to govern during a global health crisis and numerous other issues facing the country. We can talk about the constitutionality of it. I think it's dubious, but perhaps permissible. I mean, there does seem to be a reason within the Constitution why that would be the case, meaning to prevent a person from being able to take office for future office. And Donald Trump is certainly eligible under our Constitution to run for president and hold that office once again. I would say that the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts' decision not to participate, though, speaks pretty loudly to me.
You mean you don't personally believe that Patrick Leahy could serve as an objective judge for the impeachment of a man who he detests with every fiber of his being?
Tim, if there was one senator who could do it, I know that it would be Senator Leahy, but I'm feared that not even he possesses the gravitas of spirit to get through it.
I'm sure he will appreciate your confidence in him, Scott.
Yes, he's a lion of the Senate, to be sure.
Now, from impeachment politics, we move to vaccine politics, and a federal judge has ordered Oregon to offer vaccines to people in prison right away.
That's right, Tim. I think that this is a fascinating case because it's a U.S. magistrate judge, Stacey Beckerman, and she basically said to the state authorities that you better get these prisoners on Schedule I think it's phase 1A/B, something like that. So they had to be placed at a higher level in the priority of vaccination disbursement. And I think it's a great boon for liberty when the state affords the people who cannot do for themselves something that is something that they would certainly do for themselves, likely if they were outside of prison. I think this has been contentious in conservative circles. I see people criticizing the vaccination of prisoners ahead of, the innocent, basically people who haven't been convicted of anything, that are living free on the outside. But there is a special duty towards those who are incarcerated, I think, and I think this is a good ruling by Judge Beckerman.
Okay, Scott, from impeachment politics to vaccine politics to marijuana politics, and it looks like the Old Dominion, Virginia, may be on the verge of becoming the latest of the growing number of states to legalize marijuana.
Tim, legalizing marijuana or treating marijuana like alcohol is wildly popular throughout the country. But the majority, I think there are 15 states now that have laws that treat marijuana like alcohol, and 13 of those states enacted changes to those laws by referenda or statewide ballot initiative. The politicians have generally been lagging the people here. But I think the new wave is going to come from politicians who are going to try to get ahead of it. And part of the blue wave that Virginia has seen is going to pay dividends for the folks who want to see marijuana be legalized. It looks like there's broad support now on the Democrat side for this, and they don't need the Republican votes because they have sufficient majorities. So it looks partisan, and there are some socialistic aspects to the bill, like the creation of these funds that collect a fortune in taxpayer dollars. But at least, and hopefully, Virginians won't be locked up for having a plant in the future.
Now, from Virginia, we move north, as far north as you can go in the United States, to Maine, where newspapers are challenging a rule on concealing electronic court records. And this has some real significance for individual liberty.
It's huge, Tim. It's an underreported story. And you would think that the move from old school paper filings in court to modern electronic filings of court documents and pleadings would yield greater access by the public, that those documents would be able to be discovered sooner and, searchable and all the wonderful benefit that we get, right, from the digitized documents. But the opposite is true. What's happening is these court administrators who, it's bizarre, Tim, to try to understand their motivation, so I won't even speculate on them, but I just know the facts are they're putting more and more barriers up to the quick discovery of these court filings. It used to be that when the paper filings were made, they were made available the same day to the press, right there at the court office. And then what happened was they started restricting those offerings and making them available only after they were served or sorted, and sometimes leading up to delays of months. And that's what's being done now in Maine. And I think this is a case to watch. I think the courts are going to be it's a funny thing, right? Because it's going to be the courts ruling on court access, press access to court filed documents and what the First Amendment requires in that area. But the majority of courts that have addressed this issue have said the public has a right to know at the time of the filing about what these court filings are. So I expect that's going to be on a fast track to be overturned, and I hope so. And for everybody who's listening, a lot of stories are reported through court filings. It's a vital component of the right to know about what our government is doing that the press holds and the people hold.
Finally, Scott, here's a headline that I don't think the new administration is anxious to see, but here it is. Joe Biden restores a barrier to opioid addiction treatment.
Yes, Tim, this is about the prescription for Suboxone, I think is the trade name of the drug. And what happens is it's a drug that's in the opioid family, but it's used to treat opioid addiction. And it's less, intoxicating. And so if you have an addiction to heroin or another morphine or opioid type drug, you can get treated to try to come off of that addiction through this drug therapy. And the crazy thing, Tim, it's one of these just makes you want to tear your hair out if you have any left, is that it's harder for a doctor to prescribe this class of opioid than it is to prescribe the actual opioid that people are addicted to. Somehow it's about this panic of opioid prescription drugs that they're just limiting these doctors' resources. And, while there are certain doctors that are going out, and doing criminal behavior, by and large, it's not a problem with doctors. And that the Joe Biden, administration, one of the very first things they've done, it's only been, a week and a half now in office to cut off a venue for physicians to treat opioid addiction. It just seems, doesn't seem like it's pro-liberty to me, Tim.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Tim.
Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza, and this is Liberty Nation's.
Now let's take a look at the LibertyNation.com electoral leaderboard. It's still 238 for Joe Biden.
What if stories and legends can offer us the key to unraveling the hottest political issues of the day and apply their lessons to understanding the chaos of modern politics?
Impeach 45!
Only where freedom of speech is honored can people who look, sound, or think differently be truly free.
If you're discussing something that's difficult, the probability that you're not going to offend each other is zero.
President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump is now president.
With one click, Liberty Nation delivers tomorrow's news.
And remember, liberty.
Today.
All the time and everywhere.
LibertyNation.com